Debrief Facebook fans, I have something very special in store for you guys today. Look who I pulled out from his hectic schedule, the Debrief man himself.
Wow.
David Ushery. How are you, David?
I'm good, Crystal. Good to see you. I'm a little nervous on the other side here.
Nervous?
Well, you know, I don't often get debriefed. I'm usually the one doing the debriefing.
Now, I'm sure that you saw on our Facebook fans page that I've done some Debrief Intern behind the scenes with you, and I've stolen some of your reporters after they've been on the Debrief
Exactly.
show itself.
But it's great. I love seeing it, and it's always interesting to hear what they have to say.
Yeah, and Tom Yamas said that the show is fun and fast-paced. Erica Tarantel said that it shows another side of David.
Yeah.
Darlene Rodriguez said the same thing and how fun it is.
Yeah.
Now, David, tell our viewers why the Debrief is so different, and what was your vision?
Well, you know what? When we came up with this idea, a couple things. We realized that people's lives have changed. You know, they are not necessarily home at 5 and 6 o'clock to see what we call the traditional newscast, where the anchor or the two anchors sit, and then you do news, and you do sports and weather, but they still want the information. Now, there's still a role for those newscasts to play, and we still work hard on those newscasts, but how can we go and meet the viewers where their lives are? And that is making a show that's available a bunch of times, and also doing it in a style that more and more young viewers like yourself, and Andres, who's behind the camera, back up there, bro. Are accustomed to seeing information, YouTube, little snippets on MTV or something like that. So, you know, I started thinking of this show called The Debrief. And Debrief you think of like in Intelligence Matters, where they go and debrief either a special agent who's been undercover or debrief sometimes a suspect. So I said, we've got some great reporters here, and everyone is on the go. How can we give a show that feels like it's fast-paced, but yet you're getting a lot of information? So, as you know, because you've been here almost since the beginning, I think, we started playing around with it. Our director, Angie Moorfield, who's looking for a different eye on how to do it in the studio, how to light it so it feels a little edgy. Doreen Geiger, who's our producer, worked with me from the beginning, like, how can we do it? How can we make it work logistically? What kinds of things can we do? And so it's just kind of morphed. And so we want to get our reporters who cover this tri-state area like as good as anyone, and get them on and just get them a chance to tell the story in a different way. You mentioned my personality come out, but I think the reporters love it because they're able to do a different kind of storytelling. Tim Minton, as you know, really is very animated. And all of them, Tom Yamas, Erica Tarantel, and Darlene, all of them have been on. I mean, I hate to start naming them, but everybody who comes on, we all know each other. We all, you know, we know how each other tick. But most importantly, Crystal, I think with this show, and I hope that you feel this way, the viewer is actually a third party to our conversation. So if I'm debriefing Crystal Mestres, the viewer is sitting right here, as opposed to us projecting and telling them. They're learning by us talking, and they're sitting there, and you know, oftentimes I will look at the camera and engage them.
Yeah, they're part of
the conversation. And from what I've heard from the viewers who've gotten back to me is that they really are drawn into that, and they also feel like it's just is fast-paced, but not too fast, not too rushed. They're still learning something.
Right. Now, how do you choose the news stories for the week?
Well, a lot of it is driven by what our reporters have covered, obviously, and for our traditional newscast, for our website, for our 24-hour news channel. So, our 24-hour New York nonstop channel. So, obviously, there are going to be weeks where it's just clear what the story is. Times Square car bomb suspect, right. We're going to have to get Deanst on that to debrief. And he's learned so much information. But again, our objective, though, is for the viewer who's probably been rushing to work or rushing to get the kids or rushing to college courses. They heard a headline maybe on the radio or they saw something on the Google News alert. Come here for the local breakdown just to get a little bit more information. And you'll say, okay, I heard something about that. Now I know what happened. Or now I know more about what happened. Or I learned
now, is the show scripted at all?
Very little is scripted, as you know, and Crystal works hard to print me scripts and then gets mad because I don't read them. But no, very little is scripted. I mean, you know, the director obviously has his rundown of the order of which stories we're going to do. But I try not to script it too much because I do want it to feel conversational.
Right, like Tim Minton said that he'll go on the show and talk about one particular news story, and then you guys will go on a tangent, and then talk about a completely different news story. So it's very unexpected.
And conversation.
Exactly.
And I think that works for this format of the show. You know, a newscast where you are going story to story to story, you have to script that a little bit more, and even then you have to ad-lib a little bit. But I think this, again, is conversational. So very little scripted, which makes it challenging for the director, for me. Right. But I think it works.
Now, I get hit all the time on Facebook, and your viewers hit me as well, and they tell me that when you anchor the news on the weekends, it's so different. Your personality is so different than when you're on the debrief. Tell our viewers elaborate on that.
Yeah, it's true, and I've heard that too. You know, again, with a traditional newscast, I think there is an expectation on the viewer that comes to that newscast of what they're going to get. And they're going to get the traditional, here's our top story, and then here's these other stories. And a lot of time, the subject matter is somewhat depressing. You know, it could be bad fire, fatal fire, killing. You know, so there's less opportunity to what we'd say be light or inject our personality. Now, that being said, I think if you watch me over time on my newscasts when I'm co-anchoring, you do get a little sense of me. But clearly, the debrief, the format, allows us to breathe a little bit, allows us to joke, even when we're dealing with heavy subject matter. And it just allows me to be, again, more of myself with the viewer. So I've heard the same thing you have. And some viewers are like, man, I didn't know you were funny. I didn't know, you know, and you've learned that from me. You know, you were only a viewer of Channel 4, I hope, before you came here as an intern. Okay. So you only knew me in one regard. And then over the course of the show, now, of course, Crystal sees the behind the scenes. So the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay.
Not so much ugly.
Not so much ugly. Okay.
It's always good.
And we should point out that, you know, the work that you've done has been very important with the Facebook page, because this is where we as a news organization have to engage viewers who are emerging. And that comes from a business perspective, from a sales perspective. You always want the demographic that will increase in their spending power. And so that will be the people who are coming out of college, going into careers, and they consume their news and information in different ways, you know. You tell us that. So a lot of times you'll have input on the stories that we talk about.
Right.
Jaco, the musician, she told us early on, like he was going to be hot and stuff, and he is growing, you know. So that's very important. It's now what we like to think of on the debrief as a collaborative effort, a collaboration.
Thank you so much, David, for giving our viewers an inside look. Do you want to say anything to our Facebook fans?
Well, listen, Facebook is so important to us, both on the debrief and as a news organization. So we hope that you are finding this fulfilling. We hope that you'll interact with us. And Crystal's constantly on me to post more, so I'm going to be posting more on Facebook. But I check the page, and I'm part of that community with you. And Andres, get up off your knees, man, and shoot the camera. All right, thank you. All right.
Debrief Facebook fans, I'm your intern, Crystal Mestres. Now we're going to be posting this on other video sites, so if you're not a fan of the Debrief with David Ushery fans page, please search us and become a fan, become part of our show. We have a Debrief Sound Off daily where we ask you questions and have you respond and comment. And then David picks that comment and he airs it on the show and gives you a shout out. We also have a Debrief Word of the Week where we have you guys submit a word, and after you submit a word, David tries and always succeeds in putting it in our new show.
I got to work it in, yeah. And that's only for our Facebook fans page. We don't mention it. That's what it is in the show. I just have to work the word in. Exactly. And pretty soon, you know, it will be the Debrief with Crystal Mestres. You see where this is going, right?
You just been hit with the Debrief experience.